give this film credit, it actually does have one huge and notable difference from the first two films. Shailene Woodley is not even trying anymore. I don't like the Divergent movies. At all. They steal way too many pages from every single YA adaptation that got a movie, especially the Hunger Games, down to people being separated into factions, and the main character's name rhyming with Katniss.
Coincidence? I think not!
Okay, that may be my own conspiracy theory, but still, the franchise is about as original as SoFlo Antonio. This film further carries on that torch by ripping off the Maze Runner Scorch Trials, or really any film that has what I like to call the false utopia subplot. You know, when they find what looks like a safe haven but is actually evil. Except it was done way better in those movies and not here. Scorch isn't the only thing that they rip off though. Oblivion and the Barcode Tattoo series, which is YA done right, are both on the copying block here, and it all equates to crap. The chemistry between the two romantic interests are the equivalent of oatmeal and a rice cake. The effects are cheap, though not as cheap as Insurgent, I'll admit. Miles Teller's character still hasn't been shot and or killed yet, and like I said before, the plot is nothing original or engaging. And you know what? No, let's talk about his romance for a bit and how forced it is. Like this one scene, Trish has to go and meet this guy in charge of the whole haven because she's a Divergent after all, but her quote-unquote boyfriend can't come. What happens next is a goodbye so goddamn melodramatic it's actually kinda laughable. Now if only the rest of the movie could be as laughably bad, it would be left off the list. And it seems as though this was the tipping point for the franchise because Allegiant was such a major critical and box office disaster that the part 2 of the finale, Ascendant, is going to be a made-for-TV film. And a spin-off series? I don't know we're making this, guys, what the This year has been informative, to say the least. We've learned some not-so-good things about certain people out there, but easily the fact that hit me the hardest was this. The guy who directed Godzilla 1998, 2012, White House Down, and 10,000 BC isn't such a good director. The first Independence Day was a mindless yet enjoyable little popcorn flick with some charisma, and by that I mean Will Smith, great speeches, and some scenes that are still impressive to this day. Now take that film, leave the admittedly good effects, the same plot, the predictability, the interesting as styrofoam characters, but take out Will Smith and a great speech, and you have Resurgence. However, I think the worst part definitely comes at the end. Skip ahead to this point if you haven't seen it yet and still want to see it. All 5 of you. The aliens' attacks, surprise, are over, and what they got from Apple's Pokeball is that more aliens are coming. So the humans gear up to quote-unquote take the fight to them.
Interstellar travel.
Take the fight to them. When do we leave?
We are gonna kick some serious alien ass.
And then it ends. So wait a minute. You're telling me that you made this perfect sequel idea that actually would have been different from the first movie and used it as sequel bait for the third movie? The third movie that might not even happen due to this film being a box office disappointment? Yeah, I'll still be Wait, they're going through with it? Oh. It's still a terrible ending. Honestly, the fact that this film is so low depresses me. And it might seem controversial to some of you to how low I put this film, yet how high I put, well, the other 7 films on this list. But the more I thought about it, the more it fit. Mainly because everyone expected this to be barf. This is one of those things that you see on TV where when it's advertised, you can't help but feel insulted that they thought you'd actually want to watch this sorry excuse for entertainment. What was the main appeal here? Ugly animation, hilariously awful script, and Rob Schneider. Gee, I'm just aching to see it. Well, the film is actually about Norm trying to stop an evil realtor played by Ken Jeong, who's trying to build homes in the North Pole. And find his missing uncle, but who cares about that? Please, focus on the realtor bullcrap, please. This movie is a mess in the ugliest way. The animation is ugly, big surprise. The editing is choppy. The scenes and characters leave your conscience as soon as they end or go away. And the voice acting in here is terrible. And here's the scariest part. I'm not talking about Rob Schneider. I'm actually talking about Ken Jeong and Heather Graham. I never thought they were close to good actors, but this is bad. Really bad. However, in an odd way, the creators kind of knew that this film would be a huge waste of time. I mean, points off for them still going through with it and releasing it and all that, but it's almost like they kind of knew this would be crap. So that would explain why the pacing feels rushed as well, because it really makes a 90-minute runtime just fly right by. But you know, I think that's gonna be the last we hear of this film. I think that maybe this was a mistake. Maybe it was just too far to stop it. Oh wait, there's gonna be a sequel. Okay. Oh, how the insultingly dull stay insultingly dull. This is the sequel to the 2010 Alice in Wonderland movie, and is also an adaptation of the sequel book Through the Looking Glass. Now, I strongly dislike the 2010 film, however that Hot Topic pandering, overly dark skewing of its source material made lots of money, over $1 billion in fact, because of course it did. This film focuses on Alice's adventures to make the Hatter happy with the help of a time machine. But first, we gotta have some of the finest hours backwashed before we go to our finally Technicolor universe. Instead of the main villain being the Red Queen, we have Sacha Baron Cohen as the timekeeper, who's actually pretty decent and can deliver a good line here and there. And instead of recasting Alice or getting an acting coach for the actress, we once again have Mia Wasikowska, we're going with that, who is about as engaging as Ben Stein reading my pre-calculus book. Like, this film has a ton of pacing problems, making it feel longer than 110 minutes and more like 3 hours. 90% of the effects are trash. Anne Hathaway won't lower her hands. When she's not in Wonderland, it's so boring. Look, we get it. We get that you're saying people in the 1800s are really British and snooty. They also don't believe in dreams. Now please go away. Honestly, we did not need your help to make a bad sequel to a bad film, Mr. Bobin. What else did this hack direct? Oh. That's just depressing. God, what is there to say about this film? This almost falls into the same category as just Boss, in a film that you won't remember a whole day after watching it. But again, there has to be a reason why I put it on this list. Like I said, consider a majority of the films on this list 100% forgettable. It's a common problem that plagued a whole bunch of films this year. Even some of the good ones leave your conscience as soon as you walk out the theaters. And honestly, that's the worst crime a film can commit. So you can waste my money, but don't waste my time. Or my money, actually. Don't waste my money. Seriously, that's money. And a lot of these were wastes of time. This one included. Amateur effects, which is sad seeing how this is the guy who made Dark City and iRobot. Bad actors, and the script? It's pretty much the equivalent of your dad trying to make wisecracks and stay phrased with the latest memes he randomly found on Facebook. Or Chris Evans on Top Gear. Or Jimmy Fallon. Or the number 2 spot on this list. Or Amy Schumer. Or those stupid Google ads that just... Before this turns into a list of general complaints, let's get back to the flaws. The attempts at humor, believe it or not, are even worse than both The Boss and ID2. At least I chuckled at one of the jokes in ID2 and... Okay, I didn't laugh at any of the jokes in The Boss either. But hey, at least they didn't rely on the jokes from 9gag for their dialogue. Gods of Egypt was just a cringe fest in every meaning of the word. So bad you're going to want to email Redbox asking for your $2 back.
Guess what? I am a god.
You know, people say that there were too many sequels in the Fast and Furious series, And I completely agree with that statement. But I challenge those people to look at the Purge films. These always annoy the crap out of me when one gets advertised. Mainly because it has probably the dumbest movie premise of all time, where pretty much all crime is legal for one night. To keep things short on why that's a hilariously bad idea, it would instantly result in riots, and there was nothing to stop anyone else from killing anyone on other day than the Purge. The first film is dull but harmless, and the villain is pretty fun to watch. The second film, however, was where things actually started to improve. It was a welcome change of pace, especially since the movie took place in the city instead of one home, and because it was a bit more intense as well. I mean, it wasn't good, but it was an improvement over the first film. However, Election doesn't take a huge step back, it takes an airplane flight back. The action is now shaky cam garb, the script is amateur as hell, and the acting...
Hey, you old fuck! I'm back.
Wow, it is the worst acting this year could muster up. I mean, yes, the next 3 films have bad actors as well, but they don't have an entire cast of wood. What's worse? This film is the absolute embodiment of the word pretentious. It tries so hard to make it all look scary when we've seen more intimidating stuff at a Party City store. Just because you have scary music playing over something in slow motion doesn't make it scary. You need atmosphere, and proper delivery, and build-up. And Jesus H. Christ, was it really that hard to parody this movie, guys? It's a parody of the Purge series.
And I want my candy bar. You don't got the balls to stop me.
How hard is that to parody? Well, apparently very, very hard, because this has to be one of the biggest fails in parody ever. With that said, I shall answer the definite question on your minds. No, you're not going to be seeing 50 Shades of Black on this list. It's not a good movie and depends on a lot of lazy slapstick to try and tell us joke, but at least it acknowledged that the stupid source material was stupid and poked fun at a few of the holes of the movie, like satire should. But no, all this had really depended on for jokes is, it's funny, because they're black, and his family's black, except for his wife, who's the only slightly tolerable person in this cesspool. It's like it intentionally missed the opportunity to even dare make fun of the Purge, and just went to cram in awkward cameo after awkward cameo. Oh yeah, and another thing. Mike Epps is the equivalent of Sinbad, a comedian who thinks that simply screaming your lines makes it funny instead of, context or there being any hint of humor at all. It's an unpleasant film to sit through from beginning to end that 100% fails to be satire. It's essentially The Purge, but black though. How fitting. A movie called Angry Birds makes me really angry. First things first, who said we needed a movie based on this? Angry Birds, in terms of relevance, has been at the top since 2012 with their Star Wars game. It's not even big enough for a sequel. I mean, Assassin's Creed, Battlefield, those are at least games that are still relevant. It's like when they made a movie on Double Dragon 7 years after it came out and, lost all of its popularity. I would call it lazy, but it screams, "We want relevancy again," so loudly, I'd be quicker to call it pathetic. It just feels like Hollywood was trying to fill in their remake, adapt some films, show, or book, no matter how much sense it makes, quota as quickly as possible. So, I guess we can expect a film on Where's My Water or 2048. Anyway, time to actually talk about the movie now. It shoots itself in the foot so many times when it tries to build any character that it's sad. The animation is lazy as hell, and the script, it basically makes Ice Age 5 look like Spirited Away. Another thing that I'm starting to notice in animated films that aren't Disney or Pixar, it's pretty much a vehicle for songs you have definitely heard before, or songs that you've heard before, but never want to hear again when finished watching this movie. Odd thing is that I didn't even hear the Demi Lovato cover of I Will Survive, and that's apparently on a soundtrack. And you know what? I think I have the perfect reason for it. God muted the song. Alright, here we go. Two words.
Save Martha!
Yes, out of all the crap that got released this year, this was the one that got my blood boiling. Why? Well, This was a film that I'd been anticipating heavily, even more than Man of Steel. And it's not like I don't think the premise is awesome. I think it would be insanely fun. Even when everyone was practically screaming about how basically half the cast wouldn't work, I still had hope. Then they dropped the trailer with Doomsday, and needless to say, I didn't like that, and soon the doubt set in. Still eager to get my own opinion, I see it that opening weekend. It was bad. How bad was it? Well, this is the only movie where I walked out on it. Sort of. Movies like this, I usually wait until the end to see a mid-credits or after-credits scene. As soon as the screen went black, I cleared out like the building was on fire. Hopefully that counts. Henry Cavill was blander than ever. His chemistry with Lois was non-existent at this point. The effects were cheap. The villains were... It's Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
He's coming!
And the title fight, after waiting a whole 2 hours in this 2.5-hour film, is ended not only after about 5 minutes of Home Alone traps, kryptonite spamming, and about 30 seconds of actual fighting, but by the absolute dumbest Deus Ex Machina in movie history. But hey, what do you expect from the writer who called an adaptation of Batman v Superman the idea you go with when you run out of ideas? Which explains the sheer wasteland of a film we have here. Now, I would be obligated to leave all that alone. However, the DC fanboys would not let me. You would not believe the ton of flack when I dared say that I dislike this movie. I got so many DC fanboys writing their think pieces about how I didn't understand it. Saying how someone just didn't understand the film is one of the most pretentious, annoying, weakest arguments you can ever make for a film. Dawn of Justice is easily one of the absolute worst pieces of cinematic dog shit I've ever seen. However, shockingly enough, despite all that, this would probably be the lowest movie on my top 15 worst of all time list. I mean, to be fair, a list that has Transformers 2 and The Last Airbender on it won't be topped off so easily. Also, there were actually some really good things about this. Ben Affleck was great as Batman, the Batmobile was awesome, Jeremy Irons was flawless as Alfred, that warehouse scene when they go to save Martha. Yeah, I can't front, that scene is awesome. Basically, nearly everything Batman centered in this film was good. Like, as a Superman film though, it was trash.
No one stays good in this world.
And as a collab film, it was trashier. And no, the Ultimate Edition didn't change anything. It just wasted 3 hours of my life. So yeah, that was the list. Think I missed the film? Think I'm completely wrong? Please leave your opinions down below. The best list will be coming soon. Actually, you know what? Here the list is. Yeah, I mean, there were a few films on here that legit shocked me, you know, like I wasn't expecting Barbershop 3 or Rogue One to be that good. But yeah, that's all I can really say about it. And yeah, Civil War tops the list. You know, it's on par with The Dark Knight and everything, at least in my opinion. I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep. Wake me up when it's 2017.